What is up, and welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today we are back with another bonus episode. We're going to break down the 3 Q&A sessions we did during a mini challenge we did with our free community. If you are not a member yet, you can dive in. I'll drop the link in the show notes. It's a free Facebook group. We want to drop a bunch of stuff in there for your resources, mini trainings, a lot of cool stuff, and of course the challenges. You'll be the first to know if we are launching any events, webinars, and all that good stuff. So go ahead. In the show notes, you'll find that link to our Facebook group, a couple questions, no strings attached. It's really just extra help because, once again, we kind of know that nutrition gets a little overwhelming, and especially when it comes to training, there's so many different opinions, and there's mindset work, which is really the foundation, right? So we're going to dive in for the next 6 Thursdays in a row. We'll be breaking down the Q&As, starting with 2 episodes on nutrition, then 2 about training, and then 2 on all things mindset. Enjoy. Elisa says, what are your go-tos in a surplus when you need more calories, but you still want to eat healthy? And could you give some good examples on drink your calories? Yes. So being in a surplus, my experience, a lot of people struggle sometimes more with eating enough, even just at maintenance, especially in a surplus, right? And it's like, okay, so we're not trying to eat more. What's something we can do, right? Always start still with your whole foods though. Here's the thing, we always focus on filling foods. We can have less filling stuff. In a diet, we maybe want to have more potatoes. Those are very filling. When we're in a surplus, maybe go for more bread. Spelt bread is great. I'm a big fan of sourdough bread. Tortillas are super convenient and quick and easy. Very good way to get your calories up to your carbs. White rice, easy to digest, those kind of things. Now I mentioned that a lot. It's just very versatile. And by the way, guys, I know I'm speaking foods, but add spices, add stuff, you know what I mean? Herbs and spices, and make it nice. Play around with that, different combinations too. But if I need to get more calories in, my proteins, and also in your case, like proteins stay the same, right? That doesn't go up or down. Maybe in a deficit, we might actually go up, but usually that stays the same. Fats are easiest stored as body fat, so we want to keep that, in your case, likely around maybe 60 and just stay there. So 60 grams for most people, I would say generally speaking, most females, 60 grams of fats from nuts, seeds, extra virgin olive oil, avocado, those kind of things. If we do not include those foods, start adding them. And then we get to the carbs, of course. The carbohydrate is the main thing that will allow you to perform well, recover, help you build muscle. And of course, protein too, right? We need that protein to build muscle, but the carbohydrate is so crucial for that too. That being said, with the carbs, start with just your meals and just have more, right? Instead of 50 grams of oats in the morning, I'll do 75. Instead of 2 tortillas, I'll have 3 or 4. You see, that's how easy it is. If I say, hey, I want to have a little extra during the day, add an apple, a banana, that's 30 carbs, boom, right there. 30 carbs from just a banana. A glass of orange juice, apple juice, whatever it is. You can drink your calories, right? You ask for liquid calories. Apple juice, orange juice, those are great. Bit of a quicker, source, and that's fine too. Around training especially, we can utilize that. 80-20 still goes as well. So remember too that as much as we focus on whole foods, if you cover your fruits and veggies and all the good stuff, the 20% is going to be very helpful in these cases. Having a little bit more processed stuff, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care what people say online. People fearmonger about stuff that's just not helpful. When you cover your macros, when you eat mostly 80% whole foods or minimally processed foods, that 20% is not the problem. So you can have fun stuff. I do like the priority though, right? Focusing on healthy foods. So in that case, I would go for throwing in like an apple juice, and a glass of orange juice. A smoothie could be, I mentioned this earlier, a scoop of protein powder, throw in a frozen banana, a handful of berries, or 50, 100 grams, whatever it is. That goes a long way. Throw in some milk, that actually adds up pretty quickly. If you want to sneak in some greens, throw in like spinach, you don't notice anyway. Why not? That's a quick one. And then one of the more fun ones, I would say, like a chocolate milk, like a low-fat chocolate milk. Nothing wrong with that. Like post-workout is a great source. You're in a surplus. Like the most important thing now is to get those calories high enough so that your body will actually build the muscle. If we want to build muscle, we need to eat for that, you know? And then we can use these kind of tools because again, when you eat the healthy stuff, you can have something like a chocolate milk. It adds up. Earlier, I talked about the 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio from carbs to protein. You'll see too that most of those brands, they're pretty close to that. So that's actually a really quick little, tip that I like to do a lot. I'm currently building. I do this after my training. It's a low fat, just about 2.5 to 1 carb to protein, right? And you can look at the label to find this. And it's a very quick, convenient, easy, cheap option. Plus, hey, if I'm on the way back from the gym, it's just easy. You drink it. So Iselin says, which specific foods can help with bloating? So that's a big one. So bloating, the first steps, I always say, address hydration and fiber intake. Are you eating at least, in your case, probably 30, 35 grams of fiber? If not, start there. My phone is ringing. Just want to turn it off real quick. Sorry. No distractions. There we go. So, fiber, right? Are we getting enough in? Are you hitting like 30, 35 grams? I know that's maybe higher than most people are currently taking, but start there. Again, super, super key. With that, because we can't just say fiber, we also need to look at hydration. What's your water intake like? In your case, I'm going to roughly guess 2 liters at least for you as a baseline. And then for your training, up to like 0.5 up to 1 liter per hour of training. So also there, do that. For like if those are not taken care of, that's okay. Start there for like maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Bring fiber up every single day, right? And then drink enough water every single day. Does it get better? Yes. Okay. If not, okay, next. 2 huge ones, stress and sleep. If these 2 are in a not so great spot, that is going to have an impact as well on digestion. So that is also a big one. What you can also do, this is a really cool one. So if we go to Odyssey Coaching Systems and Digestion, we have a blog. I just have to double check what it was called again. Troubleshooting digestion, I think it was. Nope. Actually, I'm going to just keep talking. And in the meantime, I'll look it up. But I know we have this from a little bit ago. I wrote this after a podcast that we did. So that's going to be a great one for you to go through as well. I know it's going to be here somewhere, but start with fiber and water, then address sleep and stress levels. Stress is going to have a big impact, honestly, on digestion in general too. So if we know those 2, and it's easier said than done. I get that, right? It's easier said than done. But if those 2 are not taken care of, that's another one to dive into. And I'm actually noticing now too that I don't see the blog here that I meant. So I would have to double check if it's maybe I skipped past it. So to make you guys seasick, we'll go back to the questions ASAP. But I wanted to make sure, because I don't see it here. It should be here somewhere because it's one of the more recent ones. So let me dive into that for you if we don't see it here. That's the fiber deep dive. Oh, there we go. Okay. It was troubleshooting digestion. Okay. I just skipped past it. This is maybe a quick little read for you as well, but you'll see it here too, right? A couple factors that can play a role here. Over-exercising. These are things that we typically don't really think about, right? Could be one. Again, this kind of goes back to stress. That is what over-exercising is. Chronic undereating. Are there maybe some gut issues? Because here's the thing too. What can cause the bloating will depend, right? Is it all the time? Is it after a specific food? Are we dealing with some gut issues? Do we need to address a specific gut issue? Or is it really more like basics? You see, too much protein and too much fiber in one sitting. We just talked about protein and fiber. You want to spread that across the day, right? Water, super important. Digestion, do you give it a break? This is a huge one. Do we actually fast in between meals? Because a lot of people like to graze and just have a little snack here and there. When that is the case, you don't give your body a break, and it actually needs the time in between to kind of clean house, if that makes sense. And that's called the migrating motor complex. That mechanism works when you are fasted, and it cannot happen if we continuously snack. So again, I'm just speaking general, but if we're doing a lot of snacking, let's go back to basics and have a couple bigger meals, take a break from eating in between. You can drink water, of course, see if that helps, right? Supplements, that's a big one too. Generally speaking, there are going to be blanket claims and statements around specific supplements where it's like, hey, this is going to help with bloating and blah, blah, blah. Sure. But then again, there's no context. There's also a lot of bad supplements out there that may actually make it worse. And you might just jump on a probiotic with gut issues to where now we're feeding the bad bacteria, you see? So I know that's a big, vague answer, but start with fiber and water. Then it's going to be stress and sleep. Then maybe go through some of the other ones here. By the way, chewing your food is a huge one too. A lot of people rush when they eat. Chewing your food so that it's properly broken down can be a huge one too. Start with those and then go through this. And then also afterwards, you can also go in here, go to episode 141 of our podcast. That was all about daily bowel movements. I know that's not specific to bloating, but it's a digestion deep dive as well with a great guest. So moving on to the next. Let me see real quick. Carlina says, how do you make sure you get correct macros when you can't make your meals or can't make your own main meal of the day, sorry, and then can only eat just about 3.5 times a day, 11 in the morning, then protein shake around 2, 5:30, and 11:30 due to your busy work schedule. So this kind of goes back to more the basics. So I think I like tracking. I think we don't always have to do it. If you want to track, though, you want to have the experience of eyeballing. And that's only because, again, when we're on the go, and I know you work on a ship, so it's going to be difficult. However, if you're at home and you weigh and track your food, you're going to train the skill of being familiar with your portions. In a little bit, we're going to get into the training of healthy eating. And I know you're familiar with this, but going back to basics, hey, if we cannot get it perfectly, with the macros, just prioritize the basics. The protein, carb, fat, color is just about a quarter of your plate protein, right? Or are you getting like 25, 30 grams at least of protein per serving? And that's going to be a lot of people, for a lot of people, like it's going to be like the palm size of your hand, right? That's plenty already. Like if you can get this in protein with every meal, you're kind of good. And that could be a scoop. So the protein shake, keep that in. And then when it comes to the foods available, like that's going to be the biggest one. Because I know you work on a ship. So there's going to be different foods available. I know you'll have the awareness around which foods are protein sources, which are carbs, etc. And we'll dive into that in a little bit right after this. We got one more question. But making sure that we worry less about the number, but more about, are we including one of each of those food groups? And then can we just get consistent with that? If then over time we notice, hey, this is working, good, right? I always tell people, like, if we can, even in those kind of settings, if we can repeat at least a schedule with a general setup, that's going to allow you to over time make changes. Make sense? Now, of course, you can't make all of your own meals there. Makes sense. In that case, it's going to be way more about getting it close enough. And if you need more help, of course, just let me know anytime. Marie says, when sick, cold, flu, etc., should the main focus still be protein target and overall calories, or is it more important to meet carbs in order to get well as quickly as possible? The basics are even more important when we are sick. Getting the calories in. So number one, right? Calories, want to make sure we get enough. Protein, still very important too. There's a good chance that when we're sick, we're not training. Okay, so we're likely not doing a lot to hold on to muscle. What's protein going to do is we're going to maintain that muscle. So it's going to keep you full. I'm also going back to hunger, cravings, those kind of things. If we now allow sickness to be a factor where we're not hitting our proteins anymore, now we might actually be dealing with more hunger, cravings, and then going for unhealthy options. Going back to healing the body, like your immune system, right? It needs energy, but you want to have those micronutrients too. That's so important for your immune system. And that is why, as difficult as sometimes it can be to eat, we want to always prioritize getting enough in, even more, hydrating super well. So that's a big one, hydrating, and then getting your whole foods in. Really just doubling down on, hey, what we eat. Let's say, by the way, even if you cannot manage your calories and protein, what we eat should still be very micronutrient dense. A lot of fruits, a lot of veggies, making sure we eat healthy. Make sense? And then, of course, if we can, hitting your calories and macros in general and your protein, definitely, it should be a priority. Now, that being said, I want to quickly pull up something as well for you guys. This is part of the 12-week course that we have in place for our clients. That's called the Odyssey. Right now, this is from stage 2. So what stage 2 is, it's the second week of the client journey. And right away, we dive into how to build meals. Now, we have just about like 12 minutes left on this Q&A. So I want to go through the basics for you guys. Because again, healthy eating is not just about, right, hey, is it colorful? Is it, a whole food, whatever it is? Like it's these specific, foods. No, it's actually about way more than that. Micronutrients. It supports satiety. It helps you build muscle, right? Bone density, satiety. I just mentioned that already, but your hormones, your metabolism, right? Gut health. You see, I want you guys to think beyond calories and macros. I want you to see how important this is, right? Battling disease. We don't talk about that a lot, right? Everyone's looking to, be shredded, like, or at least build muscle, lose fat, right? Like health, super key, right? Brain health, mental health, gut health, blood sugar levels. That is why you want to eat healthy. The whole good and bad foods, and again, I'm kind of rushing through because I want to get to the point, but the whole good and bad foods conversation is not helpful because we're not looking at the context. One specific food by itself is not going to make you unhealthy. What's the context? We can have some popcorn or a burger or a piece of chocolate or pizza, whatever it is. It's fine. But what is the rest of your diet? You know what I mean? That goes for your days, your weeks too. Like generally speaking, are we eating our whole foods? If that's taken care of, the 80% I was talking about earlier, you're good. Because sustainable nutrition is not about restricting. We're adding more of the good stuff, right? We're adding whole foods. We're adding more of the foods that will give you your macros, give you the micros. It's colorful, which by the way, different colors will indicate different micronutrients. The basics, right? The whole foods, the protein, carb, fat, color will allow you to more easily stick to your nutrition, even if you don't track. It's going to be diverse, filling, enjoyable, nutritious. That allows you to be structured as well, which to be honest with you, for a lot of people, the lack of structure is one of the things that makes nutrition confusing because we're not clear on how often we want to eat. We're not clear on how to build meals. So if we do this with a few basic steps, with those foods, we create a balanced meal, a balanced day of eating. And again, going back to like blood sugar levels, cravings, those kind of things, that's then mostly taken care of, you see? And again, whole food based. You see here that it says 80 to 90%. When people are cutting, I always say 90% because then there should be even more of an emphasis on the filling stuff, right? The whole foods. So which foods include? A lot of fruits, a lot of veggies, good amount of fish, lean meats. And I'm saying lean meats because of this. A lot of times I see people in the beginning hit their macros, but not include the healthy fats that we need. There's no eggs, there's no olive oil, there's no nuts and seeds. If we go for leaner protein options, you have more room for healthy fats. Legumes, very healthy, rich in fiber, very good for you, great carb source. You have complex carbs like whole grains, sweet potatoes, and then herbs and spices. These are not going to be like the things that get you the calories and macros and stuff, but they have all these different little compounds that can actually be health promoting, and it makes your food taste good. Because what this is not supposed to be is just this bland, just mix of whole foods. No, like play around with different combinations. I go big on the herbs and spices. Like it's like that's what makes the food taste well. You know what I mean? And of course, the products too, but like that combination, you want to get everything. So for your shopping lists, does most of the stuff we eat kind of look like this? And again, these lists are not the end all be all. There's going to be foods that are not on this list, but I want you to know that this is just examples. Normal fucking food. Protein, carbs, fats, color. You see your meats, right? You see your dairy products, eggs, egg whites, your fish, even some plant-based options, tempeh, tofu. These can be great. And you even see here, right, whey isolate. Now it's a supplement, but because it's such a high quality option, I wanted to include it there. Carbohydrate, getting your beans, your breads, right? Totally fine too. If you control your intake, no food is gonna, again, like make it unhealthy. You get your beans, your things like corn, couscous, right? Oats, pasta. I'm a big fan of like whole grain, like tortillas and stuff too. Sweet potatoes are great. Yams, like there's so much here. Great foods to pick from. Fats, any kind of nuts and seeds. Extra virgin olive oil. Eggs are a very healthy fat source, very rich in micronutrients too. Healthy cholesterol as well. What else? In terms of like fattier protein sources, I would actually include something like salmon because you get a lot of protein with healthy fats, omega-3s, we want to get those too. But even like things like natural nut butters, And again, in color, any kind of fruit, any kind of veggie, whatever you like, whatever you do well with, because some people with some digestive issues might actually have to remove certain ones for the time being so that we can heal the gut and then bring it back. Because again, guys, like it's not the foods that are the problem. Usually it's the digestive system that's the issue. But getting a lot of different colors in, changing it up, right? Any kind of berries, those are amazing. Antioxidants, like I mean, so much good stuff here. Make sure to get your fruits and veggies in, at least 3 servings of each per day, right? 3 servings of veggies per day, just about a fist-sized portion. 3 servings of fruits per day, same kind of thing, fist-sized portion. For your fats, a couple of thumbs really. And then if you're tracking, of course, you can dial that in. For most people, it's going to be around 60. For your carbs, it's going to depend. Protein, 1.8 up to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight, and that's based off your goal weight in pounds. 1 gram per pound of body weight, your goal, simple. And then if we're cutting and you do well with it, you can even go higher. But again, that's more like an individual thing. Taking that and putting it into a plate, turning it into an actual meal is the next step. Protein, carbs, fats and color, throw it on a plate. For a lot of these products, like for your proteins, it's going to be like usually 100 grams. Start there. And if I were to just pick a meal and let's say I'm tracking, first of all, I'll just put it in the app. I'll just go 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of whatever carb, or maybe 300, whatever it is. Let's go with 200. For fats, maybe 30. And then for color, just go big, 100, 150, whatever. And then we can start to tweak, right? So we take these and then we tweak it. Okay, what could this look like? Because now we have shopping lists. We have, and by the way, if you want, like, you take a screenshot here too, if you want to. So go ahead. But then if we go down, like how do we take that? Well, super simple. Protein, carb, fat, color. 4 steps. Let's say I'm going to go with, I'm just going to make up meals right now. I'm going to have a lean steak. I'm going to have some sweet potatoes with that in the oven. I'm going to throw in some extra virgin olive oil. And then for veggies, I'm going to use asparagus. And if you don't like them, take something else. And if you really want to go big on the micronutrients, I will throw in like a piece of fruit on the side, maybe like a kiwi. Okay, cool. Next one, salmon, white rice, bit of extra virgin olive oil again, and then maybe what goes well with that, maybe green beans. Okay, next, skyr for that protein, right? You kind of get both your protein and carbs there, so I would say just go with that, and then maybe you could actually skip this one for in this case. Add some healthy fats, maybe any kind of nuts or seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, very high in fiber, by the way. Walnuts are amazing for you too, by the way. Brazil nuts are great, very important for thyroid health. And then color, load it up with berries, right? 100 grams of berries, like pick any, throw it on there, Let's do another one. Let's go with shrimps. We're going to throw it on a whole grain tortilla, and we're going to throw in avocado and maybe, just leave it at that actually for the fast, avocado, and then we're going to throw in whatever veggies we like with that. Right? It could be a combination, maybe some peppers, onion, maybe a bit of lettuce, whatever it is that you like. You see? Try to follow these steps and come up with stuff. I'll do one more. Let's say we're going to go for 1 or 2 eggs with maybe 4 or 5 egg whites. Throw that on a piece of sourdough bread or a couple of slices, right? Throwing that in the pan with maybe a bit of extra virgin olive oil, maybe. You're already getting a lot of healthy fats from the egg, so you don't really have to add too much. Maybe just a little to fry, right? Just a little bit, like 3 grams maybe. But you're getting most of it there. And then again, color. Throw in like spinach. A piece of fruit on the side goes a long way. Or if you're in the surplus and you want to drink, just have a glass of apple juice. You see? What about the fun stuff? This is really just, going back to the 80-20 principle, making sure that when we focus on the basics, we allow ourselves to have some fun every now and then. And I would even argue that it's more unhealthy for people to overly obsess about all these different foods and seed oils, whatever, right? Than actually saying, hey, you know what? Like, I'm just going to eat healthy for the most part. 80 to 90% of my choices are whole foods. I'm good. Because in real life, guys, we live in 2024, there's processed foods everywhere. They're not bad per se. They will come up. What are we going to do? We're going to live a life trying to avoid all of that all the time? Or are we just going to learn? And this, again, moderation in all things, right? Are we going to learn how to practice moderation without stress or guilt around fun food that we just legit really enjoy? Because enjoyment is such a big piece of nutrition as well, what makes it sustainable. You see, we always say too much or too little of anything keeps us from living the good life. So we indulge in moderation and we practice self-control. So it's not either or, it's not black or white, right? We do both. We push ourselves to expand our capabilities, but then we also recharge. We accept that flexibility and sustainability can work together, but not without moderation. You see, moderation really is key. And that wraps up today.